out and bless them as they go off to their lesson, and we'll start with our message for the day. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And I have I'm sorry, James, this is a mother-in-law joke, but, you know, here a minister, a priest, and a rabbi, they're together, and they're discussing the unforeseen possibility about one of them dying suddenly. And so the rabbi says, well, what do you think you'd do if you only had 4 weeks left to live? And the minister says, well, I'd go out and do good works everywhere to bless myself, my family, and everyone that I could give this wonderful message to. And the priest said similar. He said, I'd preach the gospel everywhere. And there's silent for a minute, and then finally the rabbi says, well, they said, the priest and the minister say to the rabbi, what do you think, what would you do if you only had 4 weeks left to live? He said, I would spend it at my mother-in-law's house. And they're all like, what? And he says, well, that's the only way I know to make my life seem as long as possible. So there you go, for those of you who have a mother-in-law. Yay! All right, so the power of strength. We're in our series, Power Up, revisiting the 12 powers as accelerated mind abilities. And this week we're looking at strength. And I like to think about the eagle as a symbol of strength. He mounts up into the air to an unbelievable height. He rises above the cyclones and he outflies the wind. Don't you love that sentence? He outflies the wind. When you think about troubles in your life or stumbling blocks or frustrations, do you think you're just going to rise above it all and outfly the wind? Because the way of the eagle can be likened to our way when we release everything into the divine presence. The realization of the presence of God as divine strength is a stronghold for us, and it sustains us and it fortifies us in difficult conditions, in difficult situations. And when we don't let ourselves surrender to weakness and disappointments and frustration and bullying and the rumination in your head where you play it over and over and over again, what happened or what's happening or what might happen. When you don't surrender to that, and when you surrender to Spirit and let yourself be filled with the ever-renewing divine strength of Spirit, you become equipped to outfly the wind of changing circumstances. So it's in Isaiah, which is our next slide, Dave. It reminds us, those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. And the last half of that sentence is, they will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. So see that eagle strength, that spirit of strength rising up in you about the circumstances and situations of your life. They're not all negative. Sometimes you're growing a new business. Sometimes, we have a new baby in my family. Sienna was born on Tuesday night. She's like my grandniece, but she's like my first granddaughter. And she was 6 pounds. Sienna Ann Johnson, she came in at 6 pounds just after 4 or 5 hours of labor. And I meant to bring the picture of my niece because she's lying in the in the bed with the baby on her breast, and she has on full makeup, eyelashes, eyeliner. I said, that's how you have labor and deliver babies. So you've got the picture. Well, I can't I'll bring it next week. I thought, that's after 6 hours of labor what you look like. But anyway, all is well. Baby was 6 pounds, 21 and a half inches long, because remember, Mom is 6 feet and Dad's 6'10". So she's long baby. And then she dropped to 5 pounds, so they had to put her in NICU for a little while, and her temperature dropped, but they bundled her up like a mummy to warm her up, and she's home now with Mom, and everybody's home, so all is well. So situations in your life, you can shore up with the strength and soar and outfly all of those conditions, and just let yourself be present to the presence of God, and that surrendering that you don't have to do all the heavy lifting. You don't have to figure it all out. Something brought you here today. And what you're beginning to do by coming here on a regular basis is to develop such a strong inner spiritual technology that you can begin to see not from the world's vision or the world's perspective or how they've defined you in calling you by your parents or your religion or your race or your talents or your whatever, but you'll begin to see spiritually. In studying these 12 spiritual faculties and revisiting them as accelerated mind abilities, you're committing to develop that spiritual technology to not only maintain an awareness of who you truly are, but to live it full out, to identify with and operate from the truth of who you are. That's what we're taking on, these spiritual faculties, to live the mind faculties, to direct our lives into the allness that we are. To be able to mount up to unbelievable heights of mind and to outfly the changing circumstances, right? If as you surrender into this idea of the strength of spirit in you, you live aware of and live from the grandness of who you are. I'm a great aunt now, right? It's a grandniece, but I'm a great aunt. And I'm living from that grandness, which is joyful, right? Just wonderful. So today we're going to continue to do our inner work to develop the mind faculty of spiritual strength in us so that we can outfly the winds of any changing circumstances. And as we've been studying these so far, we've looked at release, which is the first one, to get everything out of the way that doesn't work for you, or that blocks you, or that holds you back. The mindset that is reserved or blocked in some way, can't believe the truth of who you are, can't believe things are possible for you. Divine release, we let all of that go. And then secondly, we looked at divine imagination, which is catching that glimpse of who you really are in your inner mind's eye. You're seeing it spiritually. And then last week we looked at the spiritual faculty of faith, which it has the ability to bring that reality of what you're seeing in your mind's imagination, to nurture it and to midwife it into the reality of your life. And this week we looked at the spiritual faculty of strength, to have the staying power to nurture and to midwife and to give birth more and more to the truth of who you are in all of your grandness, in all of your beauty. And so in honor of, this is Women's History Month, and this week was International Women's Day, I've put together some stories of some female entrepreneurs and executives and leaders who have been able to outfly the winds of changing circumstances and boldly go where no one has gone before. You know, I'm so tired of listening to stories of all these Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and all these guys that are creating outer space stuff. How about the women? So it's Women's History Month. So I'm going to have a few stories for you of women who are exceeding. But first, I do want to look at the spiritual faculty of strength and see how the leading ladies came to develop it and to use it. Definition of strength: the ability to endure, stay the course, be persistent, and be stable. So as you're hearing their stories, be thinking about what in them, what did they call up in themselves to endure, to stay the course, to be persistent, and then stabilize the situation or stabilize the company or stabilize themselves by being aligned to this inner power of strength. Strength balanced, real strength is found in being still. The water behind the dam, the water that's closest behind the dam is the most powerful, is the strongest, but also it's still. It's not out in the lake, not out in Folsom Lake, rolling around with boating waves. The water closest behind the dam is the strongest, and that's where our strength is found, in patience, in tolerance, in acceptance, and in steadfastness, that just stand tall in the truth of who you are and what you know. When strength is underdeveloped, it's an inability to stick with a project or a goal, flitting from one unfinished thing to another. When it's overdeveloped, the person can be stubborn, unusually forceful, even a bully when it's out of balance. The disciple that represents strength is Andrew, and Peter was his brother. So Peter is faith and Andrew is strength. So we again see in developing those mind faculties within us that we catch the glimpse of who we are, or the idea for the project, or whatever it is. And then Brother Andrew, the strength, begins to hold fast to all that it takes to midwife the perfection of you or your idea. The location of strength in the body is, where do you think? Lower back, the whole spine. Let's sit up. Everybody shift and sit up a little straighter, because when you do that, you're activating the spiritual power of strength in you. We say a person who has strength really has what? Backbone, or they're a pillar of strength. And so that standing up straight and tall, even having great posture, is a way that you can begin to move in the vibration of strength by sitting up and standing up a little taller. So the women who have worked through this and used this idea of strength, I found them interesting. I looked up in International Women's History Week, her stories, and I found 15 women that were just doing amazing things. It was hard to narrow down who to tell you about. But the first one is Mary Barra. And Mary Barra is the CEO of General Motors. First woman in the automotive industry to hold that title. And she stepped into the position and was immediately overshadowed by an ignition recall. More than 2 million GM vehicles had to be recalled for a faulty part that led to 31 accidents and 13 people being killed. So she learned of the ignition recall just 2 weeks into her new job. So one of her first activities was to demonstrate her unexpected strength as she sat silently across from the parents of 10 dead children who unloaded their grief and their anger at her. She said some read prepared statements, others spoke off the cuff. One father unbuttoned his dress shirt and opened it up to show the face of his daughter on the t-shirt that he was wearing. And she carried herself gracefully through that, meeting with the parents, testifying before Congress, all the hearings, all the media, all the attorneys. That's her first launch into CEO at General Motors. It says she's proved her mettle steering the company through the recall crisis, and then the global pandemic hit, so she had to deal with that. She's listed number 7 by Forbes magazine as one of the most powerful women in the world. She mostly says she's focused on running GM, just the largest car company, which she says, despite the recall and the negative headlines, has a lot going for it. She's optimistic because strength gives you that power to stand in circumstances that could be difficult and to continue to outfly the wind. Outfly the wind. She says, while there are problems, a slowed Chinese market, stalled European economy, she says being the face of GM is not easy, but she is optimistic, saying GM is currently producing the best vehicles in its history. And then I love this line. She says, it's never kumbaya, but it's how you persevere and work on differences that makes it work or not. It's not all kumbaya, but it's how you persevere and work on differences that makes it work or not. And she says she's up for it. So using strength. Our second woman is really an unlikely person. I mean, I was surprised by her journey, and there's more. You can hear more of their stories if you Google International Women's Week or something like that. But how many of you eat at In-N-Out Burger? Right. It's a kind of a cult thing, isn't it now? It's been managed and become a favorite of the food industry. And for the last 12 years, it's been run by Lindsay Snyder, who is the granddaughter of the restaurant's founders. She is an unlikely shepherd of her family's businesses because she was tapped to run things when her uncle, who was running things, flew to see her graduate from something on a private plane, and all 12 passengers were killed on the way home. And her father couldn't take the helm because he was an opioid cocaine addict. And so here she is taking over the reins. She says she lost her father to drug abuse, and then she battled through a period of her own alcohol, drug use, and 3 divorces. She came out of those experiences drawn to In-N-Out's long-standing stability, taking strength from the company, really strength inside of herself, but modeling stability. And she was determined not to change the company particularly the brand's message of wholesomeness. Before her father died, she'd only worked at In-N-Out, separating leaves of lettuce and working at the register. And then she spent a few months at the headquarters approving the t-shirt designs, right? But she went to work to educate herself on how things worked eventually by rotating through the different departments. And she said, when you persevere, you end up developing more strength. So there's that quality of perseverance. She became the company president in 2010 at 27 years old, running In-N-Out, generating more than $550 million. 27 years old, with all that history underneath her, which she said she stepped up to make sure she stayed true to what the family started. She said she also felt a deep call to stay strong and to preserve the things that her family would want. And she said that required her to become a protector and a guardian, which if you look at scripture, the characters that symbolize strength, they're protectors and they're guardians, right? David and Goliath. David's a protector of the nation. That's Lindsay. Last one's kind of a fun one. And you may have this product in your house, Susie Batiste. Her motto is, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And if you still don't succeed, then try some more, right? She's twice bankrupt, but she turned Poo-Pourri toilet spray into a $240 million fortune. How many of you know Poo-Pourri? It's a play on the words potpourri, but it's P-O-O. It is Poo-Pourri. It's a spray that you spritz into your toilet water before you go, and it captures any odors so it eliminates bathroom odor, right? Who knew? She said she grew up poor in rural Arkansas and declared her first bankruptcy at age 21. Yet she has joined the ranks of America's richest self-made women. She said there's a lot of stuff to worry about, but bathroom odor shouldn't be one of them. So I thought, do I want to talk about this in church? She says her father was bipolar and alcoholic. Her mother suffered from depression. And as a teen, she thought money was her only way out. Now, most people think education is their only way out, but she said money. So at 19, she bought a bridal shop for $40,000, purchased the inventory from the previous owner. Turned out nobody wanted the outdated wedding dresses, so she was bankrupt in a year, and she wasn't even 21 years old. So to support herself, she entered bikini contests and was selling lingerie to strippers. Again, I said, is this something you wanted to reach at the church, Cherie? Then she had an idea for a recruiting website. She maxed out her credit cards, borrowed money from everyone, and it went bust. It failed also. So she vowed never to take on debt or take on investors ever again. She kept true to her promise for about 4 years. And then one night at a family dinner, somebody went in and used the bathroom tremendously and came out, and her brother-in-law wondered out loud if bathroom odor could be trapped. And she said it was like her body became electric. You know, when Spirit drops a divine idea in, you can feel it in the physiology of your body. You can feel it. She, for 9 months, she researched essential oils and natural ways to fight stink. Again, it just feels funny at church to be talking about this. She mixed concoctions in her kitchen, and anyone who used the bathroom at her house was invited to try them and test them. Finally, her husband walked out of the bathroom one day and he said these now famous words, "Oh my gosh, we're going to be millionaires." And they were. She gave bottles to friends, word spread. She had 1,000 bottles produced, and at the end of the first year, Poo-Pourri had sold 260,000 bottles, earning $1 million. Wow. Then the internet got a hold of it, and after 7 years, the business was stable with $8 million in revenue. But competitors were beginning to pop up. So she said, I've got to do something unique, right? So she decided to she said she couldn't afford a television ad, which didn't make sense in this story. But anyway, so she made a video, And she decided to get this very proper, very well-dressed British accent woman sitting on a toilet and making remarks called "Girls Don't Poop." It went viral. It went viral. She had 10 million views and 4 million in back orders in 1 week. Again, using the faculty of imagination and the strength and the courage to bring that forward, right? She said they were not able to keep up with the orders, so in a very on-brand note, the company wrote, "You caught us with our pants down." And they offered to refund anyone who didn't want to wait for the orders, the $4 million orders that were back ordered. The year after the viral video, sales were 27 million. And Poo-Pourri is now on the shelves of Bed Bath Beyond, CVS, Ultra, Target, Walgreens, and Costco. She says she has a tattoo on her arm that reads, "This dance, this life is the joy of existence." Every single piece of it is joy, she says. So that strength of character, strength to stay, strength to face bankruptcy, strength everywhere, everywhere. Marcus Aurelius tells us in his quote, this next, here she, yeah, you had him. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you'll find strength. It's all in you. You're fully equipped. You're spiritually equipped by the Spirit of God in the essence of all that you are to handle anything. And not only to handle it and handle it properly or correctly or prosperously, but to handle it with joy. It's all joy," she says. 2 bankruptcies, parental problems, all kinds of stuff, difficulties and setbacks for all 3 women, and they're at the top of their game. They're at the top of the game. Mary Barra is optimistic. It's never kumbaya, but it's how you persevere and work on differences that makes it work or not. She has steadfastness and stability. She's not stubborn or forceful or insisting on her own way, right? She listened to the parents. She listened to all that was important for the company. Lindsay Snyder came out of her experiences leaning on the stability of the company, determined not to change it, and made a commitment to stay true to what was started, which required her to become a protector and a guardian of the brand and of the quality. And she says, we don't add more fries. It's not another bacon-wrapped burger. It's not any of that. It's staying true, staying steadfast to what's working and not changing it. They've had offers to go take In-N-Out Burger public. She said, we've had Saudi princes come to offer us obnoxious amounts of money to take over In-N-Out, and we don't. She said, closest competitor is Shake Shack. Shake Shack. You know, they have 251 locations. Shake Shack has 1,000. She said, we're not interested in that. We're interested in the wholesomeness of what we do. Susie Batiste points to the tattoo on her arm. This dance, this life is the joy of existence. So, you have the power over your mind, not outside events, right? That's where it all goes on, in consciousness, in the vibration of who you are. And we want to learn and we want to practice that mind strength, the strength that the women demonstrated in our stories, and the strength that you've demonstrated in your life. Like our amazing women, sometimes you get knocked down, don't you? Sometimes you have the rug pulled out from under you, don't you? And where do you go when that happens? Where do you go when that happens? You can turn to a close friend or a family member, but you turn to the spiritual power of strength. Where do you find it? Isaiah, in quietness and confidence shall be your strength. Isaiah 40:31. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. This morning I want to invite you to know that whatever's going on in your life, you have the spiritual strength within you to cultivate, to practice, and to develop it. Cora Fillmore says the realization of the presence of God as sustaining strength is a stronghold. A stronghold. It's a stronghold in consciousness that fortifies us against all adverse conditions. So in this week's accelerated ability of strength, we can confirm that you have the ability to get still, like that water closest behind the dam, to find that spiritual strength, to regain your equilibrium, and to move on, to pursue. The strength of God. Oh, this is our affirmation as we close. As you maintain contact with the Spirit of infinite strength, you are sustained by God's unfailing power, and you become equipped to outfly the winds of changing circumstances. Outfly the winds. I outfly the wind. Let's say it. I outfly the wind. You can do it. And here's our affirmation. Let's speak it together. The strength of God is being expressed in and through me, and I am strengthened and sustained by all my actions. And so it is. So let's take that now into a time of prayer and meditation. We're also in studying our 12 powers using Cora Fillmore's book, Charles Fillmore's second wife, and her affirmations of creating a stronger faculty of mind in consciousness. And so I have her affirmations for us, but let's just take a moment and center ourselves with all the ideas that we've shared today, that you are capable. I am capable. Together, I am capable. I am one with infinite strength. I am one with infinite strength. Thus says the Lord, in quietness and confidence shall be your strength. And the psalmist sang, the Lord is the strength of my life. As you draw upon that divine gift of strength, you open yourself to its poise and its balance. Maybe there's some sadness in your life, maybe some depression, maybe something that's not working right. The Lord is the strength of my life. You can rely on that poise and that balance to shore you up. Cora Fillmore suggested in our prayers that we affirm, Jesus Christ is now here, raising me to his consciousness of sustaining strength, and I rest in joy and peace. Cora felt that if we match the level of consciousness that Jesus attained, and invite ourselves to be lifted up into that level of mind acceleration, that like drafting, it would draw us up also. Jesus Christ is now here, raising me to his consciousness of sustaining strength, and I rest in joy and peace. Now feel yourself being rooted at the base of your spine, rooted in the very strength of beingness. Feel yourself receptive to a flow, a vibration of strength up and down your spine. Let it empower you to do the work you need to do. Let the light of spirit that we affirmed in our daily word shine itself in the back of your heart. Let it organize itself linked to your strength center. Feel the light from your heart descending up into the crown of your head, into the mind of you. Let it come back down to the point behind your heart. Let it move into the base of your spine and all up and down your spine. I am now in the presence of pure being, immersed in its light. And letting that light radiate everywhere in you and through you, and radiate out from you, so you're wrapped in a mantle of light and spiritual strength. Again, we affirm, I am one with infinite strength. Together, I am one with infinite strength. Now visualize your whole body, every cell and fiber, made sweet and strong by this baptism of light, spiritual light. Let any concern or condition in your mind and in your life again be filled with this light. Feel its strength awakening in you. Feel a greater sense of purpose, a higher resolve, a new understanding, a new confidence, a new assurance about your life, about the way that's opening before you. I am one with infinite strength. Again, I am one with infinite strength. And for others, for all those for whom we pray, if there's anyone you especially wish to bless, call them into your mind and tenderly hold them in your heart. See their face in your mind's eye. As we affirm for them, you are established in divine strength. You are established in divine strength. Again, you are established in divine strength. And then just feel the way open. Feel calm, feel a sense of poise, a sense of assurance and confidence about your life. Great goodness goes before you. Great peace goes before you. And you have the sustaining strength, the steadfastness to walk the way of the divine. Be strong and of good courage. Fear not. Be not dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. For this time of allowing that rejuvenation of spirit as strength, we give thanks in the name and the nature of the living Christ. And together we all say, Amen.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, I have 3 poems for you today, per request of Reverend Cherie. And let me get to the first one. Oh, the wrong book. Okay. This one is called How to Meet Your Higher Self.
And you're standing steadfast.
Yes. Make no excuse for anything. Listen to your self-talk. Keep opinions to yourself. Make the best of every situation.